It was quite unbelievable for me to see the death of Charlie Kirk yesterday on social media. So in this video, I'm going to talk about what this means for America, particularly from an African perspective. This is key information for both those of us that are on the continent and the diaspora outside the continent. Thank you so much for checking this video out today. If you don't know me, my name is TJ. I'm Nigerian and British mixed. And on this channel, we talk about African geopolitics. Last night, I watched in horror as news broke that Charlie Kirk had been shot. I was able to see this unfold on social media, the actual moment when the bullet struck him. It felt surreal, like watching a fake video, but it was sadly all too real. I want to be clear from the start, Charlie Kirk did not deserve this. While I do not agree with many of his political views, I respect him as a person. He was incredibly talented at what he did. I admire his ability to debate and engage with people, even those who disagreed with him. As a human being, I do not support the idea that when we come up against something we disagree with, killing becomes an option we put on the table. Charlie Kirk should not be dead. His children should not have to grow up without a father. But this tragic event speaks to something much larger than one senseless murder. It reveals serious problems in America that are showing dangerous weaknesses. These problems point to a declining future that seems increasingly inevitable. I don't say this because I'm celebrating America's struggle. I say this as a warning. There are basic principles of success and long-term survival that every great empire has violated in its decline. We are witnessing this decline right now in America. The murder of Charlie Kirk is like a domino falling in this path of decline. The single act of violence has likely sped up the process of America's breaking apart. The fact that the whole world could watch this tragedy unfold on social media makes it even more serious. These are exactly the types of deep divisions in nations that can lead to civil war. The more a country becomes split politically, the more likely such conflict becomes. Charlie Kirk's murder could become a catalyst that pushes America towards breaking up as a country or even civil war. But even if such extreme outcomes don't happen and the division simply remains as it is, the effect could be very similar. Deeply divided America would struggle to be effective as a nation and would likely decline regardless. When a country cannot agree on basic facts, when its people see fellow citizens as enemies, when political violence becomes acceptable, that country cannot function properly or compete effectively on the world stage. When neighbors in a community start seeing each other as enemies rather than fellow citizens, that community begins to fall apart. When people believe that violence is an acceptable way to deal with political disagreements, society itself becomes unstable. From an African perspective, these divisions in America are all too familiar to me. The tribal divisions, the colonial divisions, the ethnic divisions that have plagued our continent are a huge reason why Africa has been unable so far to offer most of its people a strong economic platform to succeed. We have struggled to create places without war, places without constant conflict, places without corruption. We have failed to build steady and strong infrastructure that benefits everyone. Everyone that moves to a new community knows this basic truth. You want your neighbors to succeed. You want to cooperate with your neighbors. You want the ability to borrow and share resources, help each other, and even help raise each other's children. This is how community grows, strong and prosperous. It's time for Africa to recognize that we are a community, a continental community that is much better and stronger when we work together rather than when we are divided. We are watching America break apart and destroy itself in slow motion. Meanwhile, we in Africa have been divided for generations ourselves. We have to move away from this destructive path and become united. The lesson is found in both our own history and what we are witnessing right now in the United States. It's ironic that the name of the country starts with the word united, yet Americans are more divided than ever between red and blue, left and right. The United States is making a mistake they know all too well can create disaster and weakness. They have helped division on the continent of Africa for decades, along with Europe. They rose to the top of the global economic hierarchy partly by keeping other regions divided and weak. Yet, even though America understands how division works and how it destroys nations, they are now falling victim to this same pattern internally. They are tearing themselves apart from within. When is Africa going to learn not only from its own mistakes, but also from the mistakes we can see happening right now in front of us? Last week, we saw a massive display between China, India, Russia, and many other nations at the Tianjin summit. This gathering represented much of the global south and showed the beginning of a new era, a multipolar world where the power is shared among many nations rather than dominated by just one or two. As these nations rise on the world stage, they understand that they need each other. They know they must unite and work with one mind towards common goals. While Africa has connections with this group of rising nations, we need to learn this same lesson for our own continent. We must understand that ultimately outsiders may or may not have the best interests at heart, so we need to take control of our own destiny. Let me share a simple example of how unity works. Imagine two neighboring families. In the first scenario, these families fight constantly. They refuse to help each other. They compete over everything. They don't trust each other. What happens? Both families struggle. Their children suffer. Their neighborhood becomes unsafe. Everyone ends up poorer and less secure. Now imagine the same two families working together. They share tools. They help watch each other's children. They support each other during hard times. They work together to improve their neighborhood. What happens? Both families become stronger. Their children are safer, have more opportunities. The whole area becomes more prosperous. That's the same principle applied to nations and continents. When countries work together, everyone benefits. When they fight and compete destructively, everyone suffers. The murder of Charlie Kirk shows us the ultimate cost of extreme political division. When people become so angry with those who disagree with them, they see violence as acceptable, society itself begins to collapse. In Africa, we see this pattern repeat itself over and over. Ethnic conflicts have torn apart countries. Tribal divisions have prevented economies developing. Colonial borders that ignored natural communities have created artificial tensions that last for generations. But we have all seen the power of unity when African nations work together, when communities pull aside their differences, when people focus on building rather than destroying. Amazing things are possible. America's current crisis should be a wake-up call for Africa. We should not repeat the mistakes we are watching happening in real time right now. America's political parties have become so extreme that they see each other as enemies rather than fellow citizens right now. Social media has created echo chambers where people only hear opinions that match their own. News media on both sides promote anger and fear instead of understanding and cooperation. Violence in politics is becoming normalized. People are losing the ability to disagree peacefully. Democratic institutions are being attacked by extremists on both sides. We in Africa must not allow this to happen in our own societies. We must build stronger institutions that can handle disagreement without violence. We must teach our children that political opponents are not enemies. We must create media and social networks that bring people together rather than drive them apart. So, what is the path forward for Africa? How do we avoid these mistakes we're seeing in America while building our own strengths? First, we must prioritize continental unity over narrow national interests. This doesn't mean erasing our different cultures and languages. It means working together on the big challenges that affect all of us: economic development, infrastructure, education, healthcare, and security. Second, we must build strong governments that can handle disagreements peacefully. We need courts that are independent and fair. We need electoral systems that people can trust. We need political parties that compete on ideas rather than hate and fear. Third, we must invest in education that teaches critical thinking and mutual respect. Our young people need to learn how to disagree with others while treating them as human beings worthy of dignity. Fourth, we must build economic systems that benefit everyone, not just a wealthy few. When people have good jobs, decent housing, and hope for the future, they are much less likely to turn to violence and extremism. The world is changing rapidly. The era of American dominance is ending. The new multipolar world is emerging, where power is shared among many nations and regions. This creates both opportunity and challenges for Africa. The opportunity is that we can chart our own course rather than simply following the lead of former colonial powers. We can build partnerships with rising nations like China, India, Brazil on more equal terms. The challenge is that we must be united in order to take advantage of these opportunities. A divided Africa will continue to be weak and exploited. A united Africa can become a major force on the world stage. We have the resources, we have the people, we have the potential. What we need is the vision and the will to work together towards common goals. As I think about Charlie Kirk's death, I'm reminded that every tragedy should teach us something. His murder should not be in vain, for it helps us understand the dangers of extreme political division. My prayers go out to Charlie Kirk's family. No family should have to go through such an experience. But at the same time, we must also learn from this tragedy. We must see it as a warning about where extreme divisions lead. We must use this moment to recommit ourselves to building societies on cooperation rather than conflict. Africa stands at a crossroads. We can continue down the path of division that has held us back for generations, or we can choose a new path of unity, cooperation, that leads to prosperity and peace. The choice is ours to make, but we must do it now. The world is changing rapidly, and opportunities for those who are prepared and united are growing every single day. We've seen what this division has done to America, one of the most advanced nations on earth. They're making mistakes that we must avoid at all costs. Let us learn from their example. Let us choose unity over division. Let us choose cooperation over conflict. Let us choose hope over fear. Thank you so much for checking out this video today. I would love to know any thoughts that you have. Please leave them in the comments. If you have nothing to say, would it be too much for me to ask for you to write simply the word unity in the comments section? It just lets me know you watched the video to the end, you support the channel, you like what I'm doing, and you want me to continue. Thank you so much for watching this video today, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.